The Oklahoma Sooners once again was snubbed on an All-American list. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to tell you who's going to end up on that list at the end of the season.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for tuning in, subscribing to the show. You can find us wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to, and on YouTube. So hit that like, subscribe button, and the bell notification so you don't miss any episodes whenever they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Jay Smith of Unfair Sports, been covering OU football, SEC, and college football in general for the last 5 years, and we've got a great list of topics to dive into. EA Sports dropped its college football rankings for the Game 26 game, and Sooners rated a lot higher than expected. We're going to talk about who our 2023 class breakout potentials are, continuing that series, but first, Athlon has dropped its All-American teams as well as its All-Conference teams in its recent preview magazine. We all know it's preview season, so everybody's putting together their content ready to go for this 2025 season. And Athlon showed a little love to some Sooners, but they also snubbed the heck out of them. And so we got to talk about the snubs and what that means when we get to the end of the season and how the Oklahoma Sooners can, of course, prove people wrong. Now, granted, the one thing that me and John here on Locked On Sooners have talked about numerous times is we're kind of getting uneasy on the attention that the Oklahoma Sooners are getting. We're starting to hear the national media actually take time to look at the roster and see that the way it's constructed, they're realizing, wait a second, this team is a lot better potential than we actually anticipated. And because of that, we now have to sit here and say, please stop looking at us. Please stop talking to us, because a lot of fans are starting to get a little antsy at the idea that Oklahoma could potentially become a massive underdog and shock everybody. Well, I'm here to let you know, Athlon is listening to you all, Sooner fans. They snub just about everybody on their All-American teams. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you need to get a little humbling to remind yourself to keep the grind and keep pushing. While at the same time, we sunshine pumping over here, because as everybody is really dissecting what this team is made of, they're starting to see that there's a lot more potential than expected. So Athlon's 2025 All-American team, of course, you know, the first team has your usual suspects, quarterbacks, Arch Manning, running back Jeremiah Love and Nicholas Singleton at the back, wide receivers at Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, actually Jordan Tyson being on there. It's kind of a surprise to me, but you're seeing most of your usual suspects. Defense, Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, all of those, Gerald McCoy, Caleb Downs, the names that you all know here in college football that you would expect to be on this. So the Oklahoma Sooners didn't make the first team. They didn't make the second team, but they did populate on the third. Third team offense, you've got Jaydn Ott on that list. He's up there with Garrett Nussmeier, who's the quarterback on that list. And then on the defensive side, you've got R. Mason Thomas making that list. Then you go down to the fourth team is the next time you see a Sooner, which is Dion Burks at wide receiver. And that's it. Which is okay. Because for us, especially as Sooner fans, we have to understand that in order for us to get truly the respect that we hope to get, we've got to prove it on the field. And I'm not the only person that said that. And I'm also the one that you all know will tell you we need to focus on the field play more than anything. But it's okay to talk about the possibilities and what this team can be made of. And so I like the fact that Oklahoma is third and fourth team on the All-American list. It's good to see some players are getting national recognition and they're considered someone that does deserve to make it up there with, you know, the top 88 players in the country. There's nothing wrong with that. The bigger thing, though, is we've got to make sure that this team actually produces it. And I think they can. They've got the bodies for it. They've got the players for it. I think Dion Burks will have a really good year this year. I do think Jaydn Ott's going to be the X factor and truly surprise a lot of teams, because even though we're starting to talk about him a little bit more and people have pointed it out, the heavy focus will always be on a John Mateer, specifically because your quarterback play is way more critical than anything else in college football. Granted, if you have a suffocating defense that is just so absurdly talented that you may not need quarterback play, Sooners ain't there yet. Maybe in a couple years, Brent Venables can do that. Hot take, he'll be able to have a defense so good like he did at Clemson that they can win a national championship without a whole bunch of absurd quarterback play. Throwing that out there in the universe. But for the Sooners, the most important things is, and what Brent Venables need to do is continue to establish that defense, but they're going to need the offense to be able to play ball with them. And so when you look at the SEC all-conference teams, you start to see a little bit more respect in conference for the Oklahoma Sooners, which granted, the SEC is considered the best conference in college football. I mean, they're battling the Big Ten right now. Who did win the last 2 national championships? I will totally give them that. But the SEC is still up there when it comes to competition, and these team rankings kind of give you that. So first team, all SEC, you've got Jaydn Ott as well as Dion Burks getting that respect in the SEC conference, and then you've got R. Mason Thomas making it first team defense. Can't beat that. Of course, our competition's got a lot more. You see a lot of Texas kids, a lot of Alabama, a lot of Georgia, a couple of Tennessee here and there. But we all know that Jaydn Ott's probably going to be one of the best running backs in the SEC. But the one name you don't see really on any of these, actually on none of the list, is John Mateer. He has not gotten that type of respect yet from a lot of the national media when it comes to these lists, because we're waiting to see if John Mateer can translate from his time at Washington State here, which I don't understand why we feel like he can't. Because I'd say this, if anybody could do the thing, if the conference was just that weak, I think other people would have done what John Mateer had done. You didn't see that. So that tells you that John Mateer is just that talented. And that's okay. We'll see him show that this coming season. I promise you that. If there's one thing I can tell you, John Mateer is going to show out this year. And a lot of you are going to be like, well, Jay did tell us. John and Jay over there Locked On Sooners really did pump us on that. I guarantee you that part's going to actually happen. And so, but when you go in here and look at the second team, you didn't have any offensive players there, but you did see Grayson Halton, who's been talked about heavily over the last month or so. Like PFF has been talking about players that are potential for the NFL draft. Grayson Halton is a true senior, and he is one that's considered a sleeper for the NFL draft. They think that he can be a top 10 defensive lineman drafted. He makes it second team. And if G-Baby continues to develop that the way he is, man, I can see him getting called day 2 with no problem. You got to do some work to get day 1. And I'm hearing the R. Mason buzz. If he gives us another 9 to 10 sack season, he could slide himself up there until a late first round pick. I'm going to stick to day 2 just because I'm going to be fair with it. And I'm going to taper some expectations, but if they give us that, don't be surprised. Third team, though, when you scroll through on the third team, you get Kip Lewis in there, you get Eli Bowen in there, as well as Dominic Williams. And so the defense continues to add more names to these conference teams. And then, of course, the fourth team, you really get into the nitty-gritty. Once again, no John Mateer. But you do get a few more Sooners in there in a Peyton Bowen, as well as, which I'm kind of surprised, I'm not seeing Robert Spears Jennings. But don't worry, he's going to be the one that's going to prove everybody wrong. Speaking of them, 2023 still got some players on this roster, even though a lot of them have transferred out. We're going to talk about who the breakout candidates from the 2023 recruiting classes are, why I need to keep your eyes out for them here on Locked On Sooners. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings account or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app, though. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Like for me, when I'm tracking all of my spending, it shocks me of how much I eat out, which is one thing I want to cut back on because I'm trying to cut back on this belly. The easiest way to do that is to cut back on how much you're spending out and focusing on groceries. And Monarch Money gives me that ability, allows me to be able to see how much I'm spending out in fast food so I can start to plan better, cut back on that. And I can cut back on some of this, not only financial waste, but belly waste as well. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for tuning in, subscribing to the show. We love having you here in the comment section. And so we're going to look at the 2023 recruiting class as we continue this series, and we'll get into 2022 on tomorrow's episode. But 2023, man, keep it a buck. That was one of OU's highest rated recruiting classes, and a lot of those kids are gone. Like when I went through, I think more than half of them are gone. That's basically what it is when you look at it. But you still have retained some bigger name players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that you hope can show up and show out for you. And so when I went through this list, I was scrolling. I said, man, the 23 recruiting class did kind of disappear. But there's some players on here, especially on defense, that you all should keep your eyes open for. Like, for example, one name that I believe is probably going to have the biggest year of all of them in the 23 class, Sammy Omosigho. I think it's time for the top 100 linebacker to actually go out there, take command on the field, and be like Kip Lewis was for us the last couple of years. I think that Sammy's at the point now where I think he's gonna excel, especially because he's followed behind Danny Stutzman. Now he's learned a little bit from Kip. He's played a little bit of cheetah. He's played on the inside. And I think by season's end, he's gonna be working closely with Kip and Kobe and rotating in quite often. He may end up being one of your better linebackers this year. He's already put on some bulk, so you feel comfortable with the size that he is toting out there. So I personally, when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I just need to know if Sammy Omosigho is going to hit the field. And when me and John talked through it, I'm like, yeah, I see him taking a spot. He's already at almost 240 pounds at 6'1", and being a true junior, he's played a lot of snaps. So the experience component is what's going to help Sammy be able to really blossom. It should have clicked. It should click now. Should be there. Boom. He's got the speed. He's got the power. Now you got to start running through stuff. And it's funny, when I was at the Crimson Combine, I chatted with him. I afterwards went out to the field, was hanging out with Reggie Powers and Reggie Powers III. And if y'all saw me on social media, you follow me at Unfair Sports. I took a picture with Kendall Doby. Me and him kind of chopped it up. It was good to see that he's gotten healthy, but Sammy came over to us, and he looks not only huge for his size, he looks bigger than 6'1", but we'll not say much after that. But when I chatted with him, I asked him about the coaching staff, and he really raved about Coach Dreiling as well as Coach Goodwin. And he really talked about Coach Dreiling and how he has made it really easy for the linebackers, even easier than what they got out of Zach Alley at the time, in really encompassing all the information from what Brent Venables wants to do, as well as being better. And they laughed and joked about it, but overall, they raved about that coaching hire. It's like, oh man, he's changed it for us, and we feel even more comfortable with him. And of course, they're excited about Brent Venables calling the plays, because I believe Brent has called some in practice. So since Venables has called those before, they understand kind of the aggression they're going to get out of them. They're like, yeah, we're ready for that to happen. And so because of how Sammy raved about it, made me say, all right, I think he's going to be the dude that's going to really jump out this year. But you've got other candidates. I mean, you've got Jacoby Johnson. We talked about him last episode. PJ Adebaware, we need that out of the 5-star plus guy. I mean, he's considered top 10 player in his class, especially because of his size, but he's also dealt with a lot of injuries. And so if he's healthy and those ankles holding up, he could have it. And then, of course, your other 5-star, Peyton Bowen, you've been waiting to see him show you the athleticism. He was dealing with the toe deal. Chatted with him on the field, and he told me that, oh, yeah, I'm way better than I was the last 2 years. He's like, I had that turf toe deal, got it fixed. I'm actually in a much better place. And so as long as there's no setbacks, I expect that to be a big deal. I expect them to show up. But I think Sammy's going to be the one that jumps out the most. Honorable mention is probably going to be Peyton Bowen. He needs to have that year. He's taking over for Billy Bowman. And because of that, and Billy's mentioned it before, that he feels like once it really clicks for Peyton, he's going to be that dude because he's so athletic. He's freakishly athletic. He has the ability. He's just got to be healthy and then go out there and make it happen. But on offense, man, I struggled. I mean, you really only got like a couple of dudes on the offensive side for the most part. Not really only a couple, but I think you got like 4. I mean, you got Kay McIntyre, who's back, Heath Ozida, who's on the roster, Logan Howland, who's on the roster, and that's it. That's your offensive dudes from the 2023 class. Yes, you got 3 dudes left. And I'm not joking. When I scrolled through and looked, I'm like, man, there's no way these are the only offensive players we have. And when I scrolled through and say, yeah, those are the only offensive players we have left. That class, poof, disappeared. So that's also why when we talk about how Oklahoma's going to have to play this year and then going into next, we talked about last year how young the team is. It is. It's a lot of 24s. I mean, you got some 22s mixed in there, and we'll talk about them in more detail tomorrow, but it's a lot of 24s. We're super, super young last year, and you felt it. And now you're going to start seeing, okay, we know what we're supposed to do, adding in the transfers, build the chemistry. We should excel next year. So, bold take I've got out of that one, man, is Sammy Omosigho is going to get you, say, about 5 sacks. Think he gets you about 5 turnovers, too. Mixture of forced fumbles, recovered fumbles, interceptions. But I think he can get you 5 sacks, 5 on the turnover side. Sammy Omosigho should be able to get you all of that. On the offensive side of the ball, mainly because we don't really have that many people left, I think that Logan Howland sees considerable. Actually, I think him and Heath Ozida sees considerable snaps this season, and not because of injury. I think it'll be a good rotation piece, especially because Heath is should be healthy this year. Logan's got healthy. Both of them, coming off the shoulder stuff, and last year was, just kind of tossed them in there. I expect them both in working with this really good defensive line, learn the techniques needed to be able to defend against them going forward and be able to actually, like I said, see some considerable time on the field. So I have high expectations for them, but man, it's kind of crazy when you look at it, how many people are gone from the 2023 recruiting class. Woo. Me and John's going to break down how many's gone and kind of what that means next time we talk. EA Sports has dropped their rankings. Let's talk about it next up here on Locked On Sooners. And thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for tuning in, subscribing to the show. For your second listen, check out our guy Brian Smith over at The Portal over on the Locked On Podcast Network. He breaks down all the recruits out there in the streets. And he's raved about some players that the Sooners are going after. So check out Brian Smith on The Portal. And so EA Sports College Football 2026 decided to start dropping their rankings. The game launches in, I think, early The early access is in like a week and some change. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to go ahead and cop that myself. But they dropped some of the rankings. So, like, for example, on the 27th, they put out the top 25. And Oklahoma was ranked number 17 overall in the country, 14 on offense, 17 on defense, which is really weird to me if they have the defense ranked lower than the offense. But depending on who you talk to, some realize who's actually going to be. They think a lot of people think this defense is going to be better than last year, just because the offense is going to be able to help and supplement and actually contribute to the team this year. But I digress. You start to see some of the player ratings. The player ratings is what got everybody's attention, and so Oklahoma is seeing some very highly rated dudes out there in the top 20 quarterbacks. Guess where Oklahoma has got our guy John Mateer rated? Yep, he's rated in top 10. John Mateer is also rated as a 91, which is one of the top ratings in the game. Him and Jaydn Ott is rated 90. So you got a couple of guys that are going to be rated very nicely in this game coming up. So whenever you turn it on, you'll have a reason to be excited. There was one guy that was talking about playing, I can't remember the national person, but they got to preview the game and play around with it. And they said one of their favorite team to play with was Oklahoma. They're going to be so much fun, not only in the video game, but also in real life. You have to run with them. And they showed up. They're showing up in the game. Oklahoma is popping off as one of the top teams in college football, and so in this video game, and so that should actually translate to, real life, because we expect Oklahoma to be one of the better teams in college football. Like, there's no excuse if we really truly think about it. We've got the weapons. I think offensively, with Jaydn Ott and John Mateer, there's no reason why we should not be rated close to the top and play like that this coming season. So it's cool to see that Oklahoma has popped off on the list. The question now is, who else is rated there? So they popped off with some other rated players in, I guess you could say, from 86 up. And so who's going to have an 89 rating is going to be Robert Spears-Jennings, which is one we all know needs to be getting more respect. Respect that man's game, especially the way he played last year, attacking on the blitz and being out there in the secondary. Robert Spears-Jennings should have a good year. R. Mason Thomas is also an 89. Eli Bowen and Dion Burks come in at 88. And then you have G-Baby, Grayson Halton, Kip Lewis, and Dominic Williams popping off at 87. Javante Barnes is 86, one of the hardest working players on the team. Gave that man a little respect. Threw him out there as a 86. Thought that was kind of impressive. So when I looked at it, though, like I said, in comparison to everyone else, man, there's no reason for Oklahoma to not be one of the main picked teams when playing college football 26. They're built to be that everyone is excited about them overall, and now all they got to do is show up. And everybody's going to be excited about it. So I'm hyped about that. I want to hear from you all on that. Also, top 10 toughest places to play because of you, Sooner fans, because of you, Sooner Nation. Guess what? Oklahoma landed at number 8 on the top 10 toughest places to play. Leading the way, of course, is LSU at Tiger Stadium. I've been down there at Death Valley. It's pretty absurd. Whenever they're winning, they are pretty rowdy. Beaver Stadium's at 2. Ohio Stadium for Ohio State's 3. Sanford Field's 4. Bryant-Denny is 5, which is Alabama. Number 6 is Memorial Stadium for Clemson. Another Death Valley. Number 7, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida. And then Oklahoma's 8. Autzen Zoo, the Autzen Stadium down there in Oregon. Up there in Oregon is number 9. And then Michigan Stadium, the Big House, is number 10 on the list. And so Oklahoma having number 8, man, it's going to be tough to play in there. I don't know if y'all have played the game. I've played it extensively, and I actually played against Oklahoma once because I want to see how it felt to be on the road there. man, my entire team struggled. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I couldn't really get much going on at all because the game truly makes sure that it's really hard for you to get anything done. Like, really hard. And so, for me, I'm like, all right, I just don't want to do that to myself ever again. So I just went ahead and just started up my next season and created Oklahoma. And I'm just going to run with Oklahoma and we're going to do a franchise. Now, they have the Road to Glory video out, and it's pretty cool on the Road to Glory that they actually had Oklahoma as one of the teams. You can see them coming at the tunnel. You saw the Sooner Schooner. So it's pretty fun to see that. And so now I can see, again, you're starting to see that Oklahoma is maintaining its respect. And now we got to do is go on the field and show it. So like with the top 20 quarterbacks on the College Football 26, John Mateer falls at number 6 on the list is K. Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Sam Levitt, Lenore Sellers, and then it's John Mateer, which honestly, I'm going to be honest, him being 91 tied with Carson Beck and Lenore Sellers and Sam Levitt is kind of a surprise to me. I did not think that the game was going to respect him like this, but hey, I'm not going to complain or argue with it because now when I go play this game, guess what? My life's going to be so much easier because my quarterback's going to be really good. It's going to be pretty accurate and he's going to be able to run. Going to be terrorizing defenses whenever I log in. So let me know what y'all think. What system will you all be playing College Football 2026 on? Let us know in the comment section. Maybe we'll link up and play a game someday because, yeah, I'm going to be jumping on. I'm not sure what system yet. I'll let you know, but I want to see which one y'all got. Whoever I guess has the most, I'll probably buy it for that system, and then we can all get on and have ourselves a nice little party. So, also, who are you all going to run with for your dynasties? That's usually the toughest part for me. I like to do a team where I can go in and do the rebuild. Right? Like, I don't do the Road to Glory thing. That's never been my thing. I'm bigger on, I just want to take a program, be the coach, and go recruit and go find that stud running back, that stud wide receiver, the stud defensive player. And I want to start building up into a dynasty. So I like to start at the bottom and then work my way into getting the job that I really want, which is one of the blue bloods. And it's typically my goal is to get towards Oklahoma. It's kind of tough. Actually, it's very tough because that job usually rarely comes open because the job it's rare to find out that they're bad. So because of that, I'm like, well, I guess I probably, I had to go dominate. I've gotten it once before as an offensive coordinator and then took over the job from the coach that retired. I guess Brent Venables got tired of coaching about 20 something years, but truth be told, ain't that easy. So definitely want to hear from you all on that. And so again, tell us who you got in the comments, what system you plan on playing on. If you do plan on playing, may try to find you. I'll tag you or comment back to you if I get it on that system. We have to hop on the sticks and play someday. And so thank y'all for pulling up here on Locked On Sooners. Thank you all for being part of the show. Make sure you subscribe wherever podcasts are downloaded and listen to, as well as here on YouTube. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss an episode whenever it drops. Follow me at Unfair Sports. Follow my guy John over at John 9 Williams on the Expert. And the show is Locked On Sooners. You can find us on TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, and all of that, where you'll see a lot of our clips and our shorts. Make sure you go subscribe and join the family there. For your next listen, go check out my guy Brian Smith over there at The Portal. If you want to get more recruiting news, he'll let you know what's going on in the college football landscape. And he's talked up Oklahoma a few times, so definitely show him some love over there. But for John Smith, I am your boy, John Williams. I'm your boy, Jay Smith, and we'll chop it up tomorrow. Boomer Sooner.